Here we are with another Netflix movie. Lots of people on Rotten Tomatoes are saying this was a really cringy movie. Very decent story, but with like terrible execution. Now I agree, but there are some pretty cool things that we can talk about in this movie. So let's get into what's not that bad about the movie Damsel. Hello. Welcome to another episode of It's Not That Bad with me, Jared. And today I have a doozy, okay? So imagine this. I had just watched Dungeons and Dragons and I was like, oh man, this is great. I'm really in that medieval adventure-y mood, you know? Not like too intense like Lord of the Rings, but something with a little more comedy, something a little bit more lighthearted, but still decent storyline and decent adventure, right? And I definitely should have watched the trailer for this movie first because it had none of those attributes except for a little bit of action. Like, I couldn't have been further off from what I thought this movie was just from the poster. The movie started off with just like some mystery, like some horror, absolutely no adventure, and just like kind of this like survival type of movie. And it just wasn't my expectation, so I was kind of taken back. I was like, whoa, this is not the movie I was expecting, but kind of liked. One of the things I liked was some of the character development and the relationships that happened. The movie made it super easy though to like hate this queen character. We all have those relatives we just like love to hate. I already felt that she was one of those people that I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna love hating her because she's kind of like passive aggressive. She reminded me of like one of my aunts who's like subtly mean, but not to your face, but just pretty subtly. And we love to hate them and gossip about them, you know? Now, Millie's character, Elodie, whatever her name is, has a cute relationship with her sister. And it's something that we can all strive for. Now, the old medieval flirting that happened in the beginning of the movie between Elodie and this arranged marriage prince that her dad had set up for her, a little cringy. Like a homie is flirting a little bit, being like, oh, Millie Bobby Brown, yeah, I'm cute and stuff, but also it's a little scary here. You sure you want to be here? You know, they're saying all these cutesy, courtly, medieval, Jane Austen, Renaissance, that's not in the same era. That type of thing, which I kind of cringe at. But then Millie shows off and is like, but I can ride horses. And then scene transitions to them actually riding horses, and that's when it gets a little bit cuter. And, you know, Millie just kind of turns on the Riz like that. I'm like, man, great acting. Contrary to what fairy tales have been set up to be like, where people hate the stepmom in this was likable. It was Angela Bassett. And she's actually, like, pretty cool. She cares about the children, like, in, you know, other movies with a stepmom, you're just like, ah, man, I really hate this stepmom because she's kind of not great. This one, Angela Bassett killed it. She's a lot more loving as a motherly figure and actually was looking to take on the role of being Elodie's, you know, mom and caring for her rather than just being a stepmom. The second thing, the creep factor that was in this. I don't need to mention that the movie had a really creepy queen lady, right? I mean, we already kind of love to hate her. But the rest of it, you had these shots that made the movie feel creepy, some music, some characters. The prince guy also made it seem a little bit creepy, you know, like, hey, like, I'm gonna marry you tomorrow, or am I? Ha ha ha. Are you gonna live? It was a little weird. They also had these like weird hints in the beginning where people were going up to the mountain where Elodie was gonna be sacrificed, like fire there, and it's like, oh, like, what's going on in that mountain? Who knows? I mean, they dropped that hint. And then Elodie's dad coming out with the creepy queen lady and is like crying and sad and like mad at Elodie for no reason. And I'm like, oh man, she's like totally dead. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but she's she's gonna die. The little masks the people were wearing in that sacrificial ritual thing, creepy, okay? The fact that part of the ritual was like the prince guy having to throw Elodie off the bridge, creepy. It was a really creepy beginning, which is a positive thing, right? Now, last thing, this movie was full of heartbreaking moments. Okay, there were great plot points where Millie actually shined, and is constantly crying and hurt because if you don't know about this movie, literally her character is sacrificed to a dragon. She falls into this pit and she's just in pain this whole time. Anything that happens to her, pain. Like, she's just screaming. And, you know, it's Millie Bobby Brown's acting that sells it for me. She seemed like she was in pain. Like, I was actually really heartbroken when Millie was falling. Like, the prince just kind of threw her off. The surprised look on Millie's face, you're just like, oh man, I'm so sad for Millie right now. Like, I need her to live. I hope she lives. And you were kind of rooting for her from the very beginning. Really, also from when that happened, because I'm like, I hope she comes back. Like, I would want to get revenge on that prince guy that just threw me off and was about to be my hubby. Yeah. Also, the realization that's really heartbreaking is like Millie realizing that the people had been sacrificing, like the royalty of this country had been sacrificing people, princesses to be exact, for like generations. And she's just like, oh no, this has been going on the whole time with other people. Oh man. And I'm like, yes, that is extremely sad. But Millie's acting sells it. And then when Millie's dad literally comes back and we all are just like, man, this guy's a trashy dude. He comes back to save her in the dragon's den, ends up dying, right? Heartbreaking moment. And then another heartbreaking moment is when, you know, he's able to give this monologue to Millie without her like being there, but she's like listening. He's like giving this monologue about how wrong he was as a father. He's like, don't show your face to this dragon, like beat her, you know. I'm like, man, impactful. I would never be the type of dad to just give my daughter up in that way, but I would be the type of dad to monologue like that, sacrifice myself for my daughter, for sure. And also the type of dad to have dope facial hair. What also intrigues me is that the dragon, this dragon, first of all, was pretty mean in the beginning. Then, like, in the end, you know what happens. Spoiler alert, she turns good. In that whole monologue with the dad, the monologue was like 5 minutes at least. And the dragon was just like really kind enough to let it happen. And that's where the heartwarming part was for me. I was like, oh man, this dragon's like might turn good, you know. And then in the end, like, she did turn good. So I was right about that. Another heartbreaking moment is when the queen, like, you can tell she's just one of those relatives like you definitely want to hate. Made me hate her even more. And this is also a heartbreaking moment, is that she like kidnaps the sister to use as bait because Elodie had escaped. It's a little messed up. You know, it was rough. It was rough to watch. Now, to end, my biggest plus of this movie was that we kind of got to see like the medieval version of catfishing, where it wasn't really catfishing, like both people were like cute but like also didn't know it. It was just the fact that Elodie was brought to this kingdom just to be a sacrifice for a dragon. Both guys are actually cute, but instead of like the prince being a homie, he's kind of like, he comes from a family of serial killers that have been killing princesses for generations. Family, you know?